So I've decided to do this, a full 5-inch fender kit. Wow. Get excited, everybody, and welcome to our 2023 Ford Bronco build. We have some amazing parts that we're gonna bolt up onto this Bronco and make it look better, make it drive better, and make it perform better. For those of you that haven't watched the previous video on this Bronco, you'll notice I made a couple upgrades. I did put these 18-inch black Rhino wheels with some Continental Terrain Contact HT tires that have been fantastic for on-road use. I really love them. Low noise, they're great in the rain, and they still give you a little bit of that off-roady look. But my favorite upgrade so far has been these Amp Research power side steps that open up and retract down. And that is because my kids struggle to get in the back of this vehicle, and when this power step is down, it's just so easy for them to climb up and get in there and climb down. Even my wife likes it. So and really the big advantage for me of these is, as you can see, they come down quite low. However, when they tuck up, they give you that like low profile look that they're just kind of like disguised into the side. So they are a really, really great upgrade. For those of you that have families or that just have trouble getting into vehicles like this, these are awesome. This being the Outer Banks model, it certainly has a lot of pop and style to it. I do like the way these trucks do look stock. However, what I don't love is the way the fender flares have been done. The Outer Banks does have color match fender flares, where a lot of the other vehicles do just have like the flat gray ones. And it just looks like an afterthought that Ford's added onto it. So I've decided to do this, a full 5-inch fender kit, both front and rear, and a ram air hood from Advanced Fiberglass Concepts. This stuff is made in the USA, and man, it is superb in terms of like the finish and the fitment. I think is gonna be great. And really, guys like me and Dave, we are not body men, so this is going to be a full test of our patience and skill to put this on, but I'm confident we can get it on, and I'm super excited to see what this looks like. This certainly feels like an easy truck to work on. Yes, it is new, so we're not dealing with any rust, but man, the way everything comes off is quite remarkable. And you can understand Ford's train of thought for this, because if you do, mash up a rear fender here, in most cars or trucks, you got to replace the whole rear quarter. We just took this fender off, which is super cool, and you can replace it, bolt it back on. So they've certainly put a lot of thought into the idea of stuff gets damaged and they can come off. Even the doors do come off. So this truck is like fully modular. And now we begin the process of fitting up the front fenders from ADV fiberglass. And they have marked basically all of the hole areas that we need to drill out. But let me show you how amazing this product is, in a sense of it just like literally fits up. Look at how good it is already from just like out of the box. Like, this thing is gonna look so killer. After drilling some holes and bolting this up, you can see, man, the quality of these pieces. Like, I don't work a lot with fiberglass, but the stuff I have worked with, it never fits up well. And this is unbelievable. Like, look how good of a fitment this fender is. Like, everything lines up here, look against the light, even back here, like the body line lines up. The gap is pretty much perfect. We've got a little bit of moving around to do, but otherwise, like, everything just fits so well. I'm sure some of you are wondering, well, what about the wheel well liner? These fenders now come out further. If you left the stock one, there's gonna be a huge gap. Well, ADV Fiberglass has you covered with fiberglass fender liners. Look at these things. If you're looking for something that is gonna like be durable, this stuff, like, feel this. This is crazy. The thickness of this. And I think I might be able to get this in here without taking the fender off, but odds are that's not gonna be the case. Let's see if I can finagle this in here. Fender liner is in place and somewhat bolted to the fender, and you can see everything is, man, it fits so well again, and nice and tight. Like, it's remarkable how strong this stuff is for being fiberglass. And by the way, I don't know if I mentioned this already, but the reason why we are putting all of this on right now is we want to mock it all up before we take it to paint to ensure fitment is good. Because 9 times out of 10, if we had painted this and then we have to make small little adjustments or have to sand or grind, we don't want to do that with the paint on it. So that's why we're just going to put everything on, fit it up, and then take it all off for paint. We're moving on to the valance here, and we do have to make a few slight modifications. As you can see, I just used my little small saw here from Rigid to take the top off here, which you will not see, but it does interfere with the new fender. And then this is the bracket that bolts behind here. I'm also gonna cut off a whole bunch of things marked out in green. And this little guy, man, has been doing a lot of great work here. I like the fact that it's got like variable speed. You can see that? I'm impressed with this little guy, nice and light. So now, the next thing we have to do here is actually, I'm gonna grab the drill because I already have it handy. This is likely gonna tear my hand off. Yep. There we go. Drill out these 2 holes. Yep. And then we are gonna put in 2 more little wood. They're almost like riv nuts.
Yeah, they're kind of like riv nuts for wood.
Yeah, they're really, really cool.
Like,
I never even knew these existed until we talked to the guys over at ADV. And they were like, yeah, you're gonna need these. And look, they kind of just, they screw into wood, obviously, and plastic as well, you can see. And now we have a provision for a bolt. And then this whole thing, I'll show you once it's done here. That modified bracket in place here. we can now fit up the valance. So those inserts that we put in, you can see now we tighten everything from the backside here. And you can see there is a bit of a gap. So what I've done is, this was actually too far inwards. I've just put a little washer in here for the time being to space it out. And that will help it align a little bit better. But you know, with stuff like this, there's always gonna be a little bit of alignment work that's needed. But I think for the most part, man, we are looking really, really good here. And now it is time for the grill. However, I am ditching the OE Bronco grill here and replacing it with a aftermarket Ford Raptor style one. I like this way better just because it's more aggressive. Well, it's about a 98% fit. It's actually quite remarkable how well the aftermarket grill fits. And man, I really like it. I think it certainly changes the character of the front end quite a bit. The Bronco was cool, but the white writing, not necessarily my favorite. Oh, and this one, for those of you that love this, I'm not the biggest fan. This one has those like three, I don't know, I think it's called like a big truck amber lights that we need to wire in eventually, put our backup camera in. We'll do that when we do the final install. And check out this unbelievable fitment. The style of this is, you know, they call it the ram air hood. It's got a pretty cool like integrated scoop here, which is subtle, which is what I wanted. It's not like over the top, but it's different from the factory one. And man, just have a look at this thing now with these fenders, with this hood, like with this grill. This thing is going to look killer. We just now have to take care of the back. There it is. The rear flare is complete, and man, this thing is gonna look so good. We just used a little bit of tape here, obviously, because we're not gonna put this on because this does need to paint, but you can see it's gonna line up just like perfectly. Once you get this aligned, this is just, it transforms the look of this truck. I can't wait to show you guys what this is gonna look like. But now that we've done all this, everything is test fitted, it means it's time to take it all off and it's off to paint.
And with winter basically upon us, now is the perfect time to talk to you guys about how to protect your interior. And for that, we are turning to our friends at WeatherTech Canada and using a set of their floor liners. These are their classic floor liners, which are stiffer and actually make it very easy to lift out of the car with dirt in them, sort of like they're more tray-like, I guess you could describe them as. We certainly have had great success with them in a lot of our builds, but they've just come out with their next generation HP floor liners, which are made of a softer, more flexible material. I think it's also heavier duty, it's a little bit thicker. You can see it's got like this nibbed texture bottom on it, as well as a fastening system so they won't move around at all. And of course, they are cut using a laser scan of the floor and then injection molded in this rubber-like material for a perfect fit. And it not only protects your carpet, but up in the side areas as well. And if you live in an environment like ours where salt staining on your carpets are a real problem, these of course will protect your carpets from that, but will also work very well at containing any kind of like slush, ice, mud, anything that gets tracked in on your boots. And being rubber too, or rubber-like, they're a little more flexible, so a little bit easier to install. Chances are if you bought a Bronco, you've got kids or dogs or something that's going to go in the back seat, so we're obviously going to protect the rear floors as well. Pete has 2 kids and a dog, so he's got all the mess makers, and this will of course fit in the car perfectly because of that laser measuring that they do. And I also want to mention that they've beveled the edges, which is a really nice touch. It prevents the edge from curling inward or like away from the surface that it wants to seal up against. There's so much attention to detail, such high quality mats. They fit so well, as you'll see. So let's throw them in there now. As you can see, these just drop in there absolutely perfectly. They fit beautifully around the seat rails, cover the center tunnel area here. So Pete's kids can, spill their juice boxes, throw their goldfish around here. They're gonna have a heck of a good time, and Pete's not gonna be stressing about his brand new Bronco.
WeatherTech doesn't just make floor liners, they also make a host of other products to protect your interior, like this seat back protector. And you can see my daughter has already worked a number on the back of this seat. She loves to put her feet here, and that's not good for me. I'm a kind of guy that likes to keep the interior clean, but with kids, that just doesn't happen. So this seat back protector is pretty much perfect for that. And it also has, a bunch of little areas here. You can keep your drink there, you can keep your iPad there, keep them entertained. And of course, most importantly for me, protect the back of the seat. And you can see install is pretty simple. All I gotta do is pass this now through the back of the seat here. Another great addition if you have pets or kids is the rear seat protector here. This is completely machine washable and provides a level of protection that I think everybody needs. If you have kids, they just dump a ton of stuff. These are cloth seats as well. So you get drinks or yogurt on this, it's gonna be done. It's gonna need a proper washing. This certainly helps. I certainly like the fact that it's got a little bit of extra padding here, because we all know car seats or child car seats, they kind of push in and can leave marks. That helps a lot. And it does have the provisions for your seat belts.
And of course, the job would not be complete without a trunk liner. This, again, is 3D scanned and injection molded for a perfect fit. And now Pete can throw baby strollers, bikes, engines, whatever he wants in the back of his Bronco without worrying about doing any damage to the carpet. I did notice while cleaning out the trunk that there's already some scuffs on the plastic here, Peter.
Blame my wife, DP.
She's loading things in there just in a hurry. And that's when you put your WeatherTech bumper protector on here. You can see there's snaps on the floor liner, and you just snap this guy on here. Comme ça.
And now the stroller will not damage the plastic bumper.
Look at that. And then you just roll it back up again, and it's got Velcro on the underside that just attaches it right there. And you're done. All right, everyone. That is it for the interior protection from WeatherTech. All designed, engineered, and made in the USA. But for you Canadians out there, you can access their full lineup of products at weathertech.ca, where shipping is free and you'll get it in literally 2 or 3 days. It's remarkable how quickly it does show up. But if you're more of a shop in person kind of guy, then you can stop by their storefront in Burlington, Ontario, easily accessible off the QAW here in Southern Ontario. So go do your shopping in person and walk out the door with exactly what you need, knowing it's going to fit your car perfectly.
I didn't expect to take apart the entire front end to get the spring and shock off, but that's how it happens sometimes. Thankfully, nothing was rusted, so it wasn't too bad of a job. And what we are going to be replacing that setup with is an IBOC Stage 1 Pro Truck Lift Kit. And this kit is going to either raise your vehicle by 0.8 to 2.8 inches up front, or 0.6 to 2.4 inches in the rear. A lot of people go with the coilover setup, which is their stage 2. I decided to try the stage 1 out because it's a little bit more cost effective, and really I don't need the height adjustment, and I kind of want the road going manners, which I think this setup is going to provide both. So it's the less hardcore off-road setup, so it's just a good balance of
in between for both. And if you're looking to source this stuff, we source this from ibok.ca. For Canada, if you're in the US, check out ibok.com. Before we go throwing everything back together, I want to show you what we are going to be doing for an upgrade on the upper control arm. You can see this is ibok's caster and camber adjustable upper control arm. You can see much beefier than the factory unit, and it has sphericals up here, which is a nice touch, and they do have the rubber, so it's not going to wear out quickly. And my biggest reason for going with this is I want the camber adjustment. When this vehicle does get raised, usually what happens is your wheels start going into positive camber, and to fix that, having this adjustment right here is going to be key. Oh, tightening up that last bolt up there for now. This thing is obviously gonna need an alignment, and I should mention I went on the lowest setting for the setup here. So this is 0.8 of an inch raising this vehicle. And the reason why I've only gone with that is the fenders that I have, the gap now is, it's added an inch in terms of like the wheel to fender gap because of those aftermarket ADV fenders. And then if I want, I will raise it up, but I'm pretty content and sure that this is gonna do it.
The rear is a much easier job, and it requires just loosening 3 nuts up top and a massive 30 mil bolt or nut here, and I don't actually have a 30 mil wrench. So out comes the adjustable. We do have a 30 mil socket, or this is actually a 27, which is the smaller, it's smaller on the other side, and then we're just gonna give her here and loosen it this way. So let's see how this goes. But before I do that, I should be a smart man and put my hearing protection on.
That's right.
All right, ready?
Ready.
Wow, that's real. Look at it.
It opened the wrench.
It opened the wrench completely up.
That's wild.
And let's see, did it actually loosen it?
I don't think it did.
Ready?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, man.
There's a beast.
That is wild, man. Rear suspension is now in, and this nut takes a whopping 350 foot-pounds. We don't have a way to get there, and our torque wrench only goes to 250. However, the Milwaukee on setting number 3 goes to 450. So I went with the old dak-a-dak, we're good method, and I think we will be good there.
There you have it, K&N intake installed, supplied by northernperformance.ca. They're in Burlington, Ontario, but if you want to shop online, then just go to that URL and you can buy all kinds of good stuff from them, including K&N intakes. And I wanted to show you this very restrictive, strange looking piece that is from the factory intake that bolts to the turbo. And it's got like this weird, like pinched area here that's sort
Noise
of in
reduction DP, that's the only thing I can think of.
It's like, yeah, or is it trying to create some like vortice twisting
Yeah, it's
action?
a turbo, she just sucks air.
And they put this giant plastic block right by the turbo. I don't know how that doesn't get killed by the heat. Anyway, interesting stuff to see, but more interesting are the power gains that K&N advertises for this intake. They're talking about almost 17 wheel horsepower at just under 3,700 RPM and 27 pound-feet of torque down here as low as 2,500 RPM. So this should really wake this motor up. Frankly, not that it needs more power. I was actually surprised how quick this thing was on the street. I think Pete really wants it for the intake noise, don't you, Pete?
Yeah,
it should sound really good. There you have it. Our MBRP high clearance 3-inch catback exhaust system is installed. And as you can see, it's called the high clearance because it's tucked up in here behind the rear bumper. So you've got really good clearance for off-roading, which Pete will do none of, but it's still a really clever setup. Obviously a much smaller muffler, so it's gonna give this truck I think a much burlier sound. We'll find out shortly. Mandrel bent 3-inch all the way back, slip fit. It fit up perfectly. It uses all the stock hanger locations, so it was a very simple installation. For those of you who are curious about power, they advertise it makes 17 horsepower and 14 foot-pounds of torque.
The last upgrade on the Bronco from a performance side is going to be the stock intercooler. I'm looking to reduce the charge inlet temperatures because, well, I run 87 octane on this thing. I'm not a 91 premium kind of guy just because it's cheaper and this is like my wife's daily driver, so we don't go around using it as a performance vehicle. However, that being said, I wanted to get a proper intercooler into this thing, and this is Cobb's all aluminum intercooler. It has 53% larger volume, which means it's gonna cool 23% better, and it gives you a better safety margin for the fuel that I'm running, and especially in the summertime. So this thing is a complete bolt-on. You can see it's actually super easy to install. I just had to drop 2 brackets here that hold it in place and then just slide this back in and it's going to go in, except I forgot to transfer the rubber grommets. So let's get that done and I'll put this up. Man, these couplers that Ford makes for this car, like look how easily they are to go in. They just pop in like that and you're in place. You gotta love that. Those silicone, you know, couplers with hoses, and to take them off, it's the same thing. You just kind of like pull down on it and they release and look, they come off. Pretty ingenious. I wish more cars had that. And with the last thing, as I said, this is super easy. I just have to bolt this back on here and this intercooler install is done. So now let's start this up. Let's hear that intake and that exhaust system. Wow, so far less loud than I expected. It's actually just got this really nice deep tone. As you can hear right now, the idle's starting to come down, engine's starting to warm up, but I'm really digging it. Let me give you guys some revs. That sounds perfect to me. I was expecting a lot louder and it just has this like nice down low boom to it, which is gonna just give this truck a little bit more, you know, sound. The OE system on this was like super quiet.
That certainly adds a bit of life to the intake system here. However, when we take this for a drive, I think this is gonna make even more noise. We all know at idle, there's no real load. Once the turbo starts spooling, this thing I think is gonna be worth its weight in gold. And that is going to be a wrap on this episode. In the next one, well, we've got wheels and tires. We're gonna be putting the fenders back on, making this complete, and of course taking it for a test drive. We'll see how that suspension works, how this car sounds. So you don't want to miss the next episode. It is going to be a good one. And of course, if you like the content, certainly think about subscribing, giving us a like, and hitting that thumbs up. All right, guys, we will see you in the next one.